Hello, everybody. Let's read the books I bought from the CBC Calgary Reads Big Book Sale. Holy cow, every year that title does not get shorter. Every year I go to the CBC Calgary Reads Big Book Sale, and naturally it's a great opportunity to pick up a ton of books. And I came prepared this year. I went in with a list. I'm going to show you those books in a second, but first I need to talk about some books that arrived in the mail. Both of these came from publishers, so thank you to Galance for sending them. The first one is Blackwing by Ed McDonald, which is a fantasy novel. Blackwing looks to explore that really grim, dark fantasy, semi-modern, industrialized society with, think alongside the roads of like Stephen King's Dark Tower series, combined with a little bit of Roadside Picnic. I'm barely into the story, but there's so much more going on here. And I read the opening paragraph of this book, and it is one of the best opening paragraphs that I have ever seen, ever. It establishes character, setting, plot, and mood all at once. It's the kind of thing that takes an entire chapter for books to establish. This thing does it all in the first paragraph, which is really impressive. I'm not normally a grimdark fan, but this book is looking to really suck me into that grimdark aspect. It's finally sold me, and I think I understand what it's all about now. The second book from Galance is Stranger of Tempest by Tom Lloyd, and he is a UK author who has written quite a few books in the past while, and this one is looking to be a very, very escapist fantasy. There's not too much of a description on the back. I have read some Tom Lloyd before, and he is very good at doing that Warcraft cinematic cutscene style of fantasy, at least in the novella that I read of his. And it's got me really excited to check out something like this for some good old-fashioned adventure escapism with maybe a lot of punch and a lot of weight. So we'll see. Looks exciting. Okay, now on to the books from the book sale itself. I went into the sale looking for a few things. Hugo Award nominees, Hugo Award winners, mostly winners, as well as a couple of books that were sort of on my list but that are really hard to find, be it online or in used bookstores. The general rule being if I couldn't find them anywhere else, I would get them at the book sale. And I found a couple treasures. First up is Legend by David Gemmell. This is the iconic book, the classic Drenai novel, it says, which is about a hero who is kind of aging, and I believe, and he's doing hero things, but it's like that classic hero adventure fantasy that really establishes that ha-ha, gung-ho kind of thing. But I believe it's also about him as he is aged and looking a little bit back into the past. My interest in reading this novel comes from the David Gemmell Legend Award, which is presented online, and they have the shape of the iconic trophy that they hand out, or the axe they literally mail to authors who win the award. Just curious to see what this is about. It says, "The legend is Druss. The stories of his life are told everywhere. Instead of the wealth and fame he could have claimed, he chose a mountain lair high in a lowly country, bordering on the clouds. There the grizzled old warrior keeps company with snow leopards and awaits his old enemy, death." Not sure what to expect from it. Can't find this book anywhere. The next book is Planetfall by Emma Newman. I've seen a lot of people in the bookish community talking about this thing and how they appreciate its science fiction aspects, which is establishing a colony on a new planet. I've been on the fence as to whether or not I wanted to read this book. It's been nominated for a lot of awards, is critically acclaimed. The sequel that was released has received a lot of accolades as well. And I've just never been quite certain because the blurb on the back just didn't swing me. But people have talked at length about how good it is at depicting someone going through mental health issues, as well as the colonization of another planet, as well as Emma Newman's unique voice, that I finally decided to check it out. For $4, I figure it's a low-risk entry. The next is The Fold by Peter Clines, a science fiction book about a guy who learns or joins up with an agency that can fold dimensions and space. And as he goes on a crazy journey through all of that, he teams up with some secret agency and does things. That is the best description for a book ever. I don't fully know what this book is about, and I don't want to read the back verbatim. But this book got a lot of hype when it came out, and I figure enough time has gone by that if this thing still intrigues me now, if I look at this cover and go, this is a book I want to read, and the hype has died down, that should be worth checking out for me. Every year when I go to the book sale, I look for the author James White. He, of course, wrote the Sector General novels, which is a pacifist science fiction series about life on a space station / hospital. Deep Space Nine, but when everyone's a doctor. I went looking for James White novels, and I found a couple. One is Final Diagnosis, which is deep into the series of Sector General. I started reading the first ever Sector General story, and it's quite intriguing. It's about a man who has to take care of and administer like medical ointments and food to a starving young wounded alien baby while they're building the space station. So he's got his own little quarters and an airlock and this like tentacled slug baby thing inside the room with him, and he has to take care of it, but the medical requirements of the baby are completely different from human physiology. It's like Castaway, but where Wilson is a giant alien slug. Not what this book is about, but because the sale is the only place where I can find James White books, this is where I'm getting them from. The next book is Futures Past by James White, which is a collection of short stories written by the author. The description on the back of this one's kind of interesting. The big bird-like creature, found floating in the vastness of space by the scout ship Torrance, was obviously sick. A strange and perhaps deadly rash that covered its body may well have caused the creature's companions to abandon their helpless friend. But the crew couldn't leave the beast to die. First, they would have to find a way to tow it, and then the doctors and nurses at Sector General could find a cure. So, this is not entirely a Sector General book. I believe one or two of the short stories takes place in that universe, but it is also a collection of other fiction that he's written. Funny story about this one. At last year's book sale, I went looking for Stephen Erickson books, specifically the Malazan Book of the Fallen, and I found 3 of the books in these massive these are softbacks, but I found 3 hardcovers, these massive books. And the sad thing is, I was debating whether or not I was going to get them. I put them down for a second, and I walked away. And I was trying to weigh in my mind, should I get these books or not? I was about maybe 10 feet away, and I was kind of like, okay, I'll leave them. Maybe I'll look for them next year. I left. But as I was walking away, I could see a lady walk up to them, and she picked up all 3 of the books that I was going to get, and I didn't get them that year. It was like, that's how quickly you have to get some of these items at the book sale. But anyway, picked up Reaper's Gale and Toll the Hounds by Stephen Erickson to help fill out my Malazan Book of the Fallen collection. I still haven't read book 2, but book 1 was good enough in its epicness, in its challengingness, that I know I'm going to continue this series. If it's good or it's bad, I'm going to read this whole thing. Next up comes the Hugo Award-winning stash, where I've discovered a bunch of ones that I've had a hard time finding. C.J. Cherry's Down Below Station, this is the funny thing. I don't know what these books are about. They are on the Hugo Award winners list, and I'm just reading them all by default. It's a goal that I have to do. So, this book is about what exactly? The classic novel of interstellar war. There, done. Big guess is this is about a space station that orbits a planet, and there's some type of cultural conflict that takes place. I would go into the descriptions, but I don't want to ruin it. Foundation's Edge by Isaac Asimov. This is the 4th and I believe last one that he wrote in the Foundation series. This one won the Hugo. The other one was nominated for Best Overall Series. They awarded one way back when. The Foundation is, in the future, there is a galactic empire. That galactic empire is going to fall, and a scientist named Harry Seldon, or a mathematician, knows that this is coming, and that in order to prevent the thousands of years spanning galactic dark ages, he has set up the Foundation, a way of shortening that time and preserving knowledge and science and aspects of society by predicting events and navigating them with his society to weather that storm. Long description. I am rusty at this, guys, okay? The first book is interesting, and if you've ever seen Star Wars, you get a really good picture from where the planet Coruscant gets its inspiration from. This was the last Foundation novel that Isaac Asimov wrote, and it won the Hugo. The other ones didn't. A little surprised. Then we have The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. This is a Hugo Award-winning novel about, I believe, gender, but it's definitely a classic. Heard a lot about it, except what it's actually about. There's a nice picture of her in there. She looks very distinguished. Now this is an interesting one. There's Cytine by C.J. Cherryh. Was originally published in 1 or 3 volumes, I believe. I'm not sure how many volumes it was split up into, but C.J. Cherryh didn't like that. Had it printed as a big omnibus, complete in 1 volume, so that it could be one complete story. I think she felt that this was best told and experienced as one complete book instead of broken up, say, like Lord of the Rings or whatnot. Winner of the Hugo Award for Best Novel, this is bestseller C.J. Cherryh's masterpiece, a multi-layered epic of interstellar cabals and dark human passions, genius, blackmail and sacrifice, murder, resurrection, and the betrayal of innocence, and loyalty stronger than death. That doesn't tell me too much about it, actually. That's a very broad... They're going broad with the description there. The reason why I picked this one up is I had volume 1, which I then later learned was only a portion of the story. And so in order for me to knock out my Hugo Award reading list this year, I need to pick this thing up in its entirety, because otherwise I'm just going to be dying if I can only get the first part of the book. The next is this funky font edition of The Gods Themselves by Isaac Asimov. Again, still don't know what it's about. It's on the Hugo list. So, what is it about? The interrelationships of 3 different worlds, the actions of a wide variety of their inhabitants, and the resolution of their common problem form the substance of Isaac Asimov's deciding... Okay, that's not... Okay, here we go. Each of the 3 cultures with different values and dramatic contrasts is personified by one individual. On Earth, it's the scientist who tries to warn that what seems to be progress may in reality end with complete annihilation. On an alien and mysterious planet, it's a unique being that questions the morality of self-preservation at any cost. On the moon, it's a girl who is fantastically intuitive, and each set against a particular place and time seems to be an inaudible voice crying into an uncaring wilderness. 3 people on different planets encountering things. And this is the book club edition with the really funky 70s triple tritone font and a beautiful Isaac Asimov in the back saying hello. These next few books have a bit of a story behind them. My stepfather has become very focused on the Campbell Award each year. He's read all the Hugo and Nebula books and now needs a new award to comb through to pull new material from. And he gave me these books. The first up is Radio Man by Eleanor Lerman, and he had to contact the publisher directly to ask if they had copies. He was looking for first editions specifically. He collects first editions. And he asked if they had any first editions remaining of Radio Man. They said yes, they did. He was going to have one shipped, but the postage fees for shipping it to Canada would have been insane. He did have some friends who lived in the States that he could ship it to, and where his wife could go and pick up the book on one of her trips. So when she went down to the States and picked up the book for us. He ordered 2, one for him, one for me. It's about sort of like a radio that seems to be talking to alien intelligences, but there's more going on than meets the eye. When Laurie calls into a late-night radio show to talk to a psychic, she has no idea that this connection will turn her world upside down. Before she can even speak, the psychic is able to discern an alien image from Laurie's childhood. An alien being Laurie saw 4 decades ago. The psychic is part of a cult-like organization known as Blue Awareness that believes humans share a common lineage with aliens. Laurie simply wants to be left alone, but Blue Awareness becomes increasingly menacing as she discovers that the alien she saw as a child wants something from her now. There's probably a lot more going on in that. The big thing on the back, it says that space aliens, mystical knowledge, the secret of the universe, an alien breed of dogs, and the true meaning of religion. What more could you ask for? By Toby Johnson. Oh yeah, so it is a send-up of Scientology. It says it's a smart send-up of Scientology and an intriguing Aliens Among Us tale. And a very creepy cover. I mean, I'm fine not knowing what these books are about. It just doesn't make for very smart video describing, being like, well, it's a book about a thing, so read. They'd Rather Be Right by Mark Clifton and Frank Riley. This is a Hugo Award-winning novel that is known by a different title. I'm too lazy to Google that right now. But it won the Hugo Award. It was the second book to do so, and going into this completely blind. And the last book is All the Birds in the Sky by Charlie Jane Anders. This won the Nebula Award this year, and it is nominated for a Hugo Award. My stepfather alerted me to the first edition status of this book, that there were a bunch available in Calgary, and that I should go to the local chapters and pick it up. But the one I went to near my house didn't have it, so I ended up having to chase this thing around the city until I found a store that actually had one. It's about a boy and a girl who one who is very much involved in science and the other one who is very much involved in magic, and the interactions they have as children and then some that they have later as adults, and about how the conflicts between those two two worlds of magic and science either conflict or come together to help save the world from impending catastrophe. Okay, yeah, here we go. Find themselves drawn into opposite sides of a war between science and magic, and the fate of the worlds depends on them both, probably. So, okay, yes, we've confirmed end of the world stuff potentially happening in this book. Potentially? No, it's confirmed. We know this. The Hugo Awards are coming up in August, and I've been so behind this year. I have read only one of the nominees, and that was Nine Fox Gambit, and I'm really rooting for that book. But it looks like it's going up against All the Birds in the Sky, The Obelisk Gate, that other one, and Two Like the Lightning. And I'm so excited to read all of them, but I'm not going to get them in by the time the awards roll around this year, which is perfectly fine. So that's all the books I got at the book sale. Many of them will probably go unread for years to come because we still have a huge stash to take care of there. But nevertheless, the reading is going to be good either way. So I'm a happy guy. We'll see you later. Have a good one.